What's happening, my friends? Just wanted to give you a gentle reminder right up front about the Black Bear Americana Music Fest happening Columbus Day weekend at the Goshen, Connecticut Fairgrounds. That is October 11th, 12th, and 13th. Head over to blackbearmusicfest.com, and right now, if you use the code ROADIE30, you get 30% off your tickets for the entire weekend. That is ROADIE30. And you get 30% off your entire ticket price for the whole weekend. Head over, check it out, blackbearmusicfest.com. Let's get to the show.
What's happening, roadies? This is Andrew Ratcliffe.
This is Juno Black.
What's happening, roadies? This is Erik Rogers, and you're listening to Roadie Free Radio.
What's up, roadies? My name is Larry Milburn, and this is Roadie Free Radio, your VIP pass to meet and greet the stars behind the scenes of the music and film business. All right. What is happening, roadies? How are you? And welcome to episode 147. This is your host, Larry Milburn. I am coming at you from a barn in Northwest Connecticut. It is a beautiful fall weekend. Thank you for tuning in to this week's show, and thank you for all of your amazing feedback and thoughts and whatnot on last week's episode with Kevin Quiz Ryan. We had a good time, and we've got an equally good time today with Erik Rogers, front of house audio engineer, currently out with Godsmack. We're going to get to him in just a second. First, how are you guys? What is going on? How was your week? I miss you. I always miss you, and I'm glad to be back here. I'm looking at my desk, and it's a pile of stuff. I'm going to save the expletive for maybe later in the show. I just have a pile of stuff, from audio gear to film gear to notes to bills to just stuff. I've been super crazy busy, and I've barely been in the studio, and so I haven't cleaned anything up. I was trying to pull out an XLR cable to plug in to get the show going tonight, and I was just like, when am I going to get in here to clean things up, man? It is disgusting. You know, you've been away and you're just coming in for 2 seconds to grab this or move this out of a bag and put it in another bag. And I got more bags than a bag lady. It's been crazy. It's been a crazy time, and there's no rest. I got 2 more weeks straight just being flat out hustling, shooting, doing it. But it's good because the money's coming in, and that's what we want. Hey, man, check this out. Went to see the doctor last week, and my toe has had an amazing, amazing recovery. I am now officially out of the sandal. I don't know if you guys saw this. I posted on Facebook. Put both sneakers on after 3 months or 2. I don't even, where am I? July 30th, I had the surgery. So a couple months. Finally out of the sandal, the post-operative sandal, and I'm into my sneakers. And I'm very excited. Still a little tender. Can't do any high impact running or jumping. I said, listen, doc, that's not going to be a problem. Look at me, for God's sakes. Does it look like I've been running any time in the last 4 or 5 years? No, I don't think so. And jumping, well, not going to get that high off the ground. Let's be honest. But anyway, I'm very excited to be walking around in 2 regular shoes, I should say, and get my life back. And I will start working out just as soon as I can. But really, I want to thank you guys for putting up with all my announcements about it and your support for it for the last few months, and your thoughts and well wishes really means a lot. And if anyone's going through anything like that, let me know. If you need toe surgery or foot surgery, I got a great guy in the city, New York City, that is. And I can give you all sorts of some ideas and some things. Speaking of giving you ideas and whatnot, again, also thank you for your feedback on the video that I posted last week on YouTube, on the YouTube channel, about my tips for filming concert footage and how to get some good stuff. I got a lot of messages about it, and people seem to dig it. So if you haven't seen it, head over to the YouTube channel. That's Roadie Free Radio, and it's my latest video. I feature footage that I shot for the Magpie Salute, Led Zeppelin, and the Weight Band. And it's good. I love doing it, man. If anyone out there is working with the band, they need some video footage, let me know. Let's chat. Let's chat it up. Anyway, What else do I have for you? AES. Who's going to AES, man? That's the next thing on my calendar. AES October 16 through 18 at the Javits Center in New York City, baby. You know who's coming with me? John Kane, author of the book, The Pilgrims of Woodstock, as well as author of the book, the definitive, biography, story, whatever you want to call it, of Bill Hanley of Hanley Sound Corp, who was my 50th guest. Both John and Bill Hanley were my 50th guests. We had a great time way back. Man, we're coming up on 150. Have I told you who the guest is? Should I do it? I'm going to wait one more week. Let's wait a little bit and we'll tease it then. Okay. Anyway, John and I, he's coming down with me. We're going to go to AES together. We got one day. We're going to hit it in one day. Make the rounds, see everybody, check out the gear, check out the people, maybe grab a couple of interviews if I can do it. And I want to see you. So if you're going, shoot me a note. info@roadiefreeradio.com. Hit me up on Facebook. Hit me up on Twitter. Hit me up on Instagram. You know we're there. We're waiting to hear from you. Speaking of authors, David Dan, who was on the show with John a few weeks ago, talking about his new book, Guitar King, Michael Bloomfield's Life in the Blues. David and I are going to be collaborating on the book launch for Guitar King coming up in November. I will keep you posted on that. I believe it's going to be here in my town of Washington, Connecticut. We're going to try to get a cool, colorful cast of characters to come out for that, and some musicians and whatnot, and a couple of other special guests that we're talking about having to come. But we're going to do this, man. I think it's going to be November. I will keep you posted. You know that I like to keep you in the loop on things. So look out for that. What else did I want to tell you? I don't have a lot to tell you this week. It's been crazy. I haven't been able to catch up on things. I'm going old school tonight. I busted out the Telefunken M80 dynamic microphone to do this episode with because, frankly, I couldn't find the Electro Voice RE20 that I've been using because it's probably buried under some shit in the office. And so I found this one. Boom, here it is. We're using it. Why not? Let's do it. Now, I do want to tell you that today's episode is fully sponsored by ShowPro Beard Co. I'm giving it to them. The entire episode is their episode. I'm going to tell you why. Erik Rogers, my guest, has an epic beard. As soon as the Skype came on and I saw his image, I was like, holy shit, man, you got to get yourself some ShowPro Beard Co. That thing is amazing, and you'll like it. So he wrote the name down. I probably mentioned ShowPro Beard Co. in the interview with him at least 6 times. So I'm giving them the whole episode to sponsor this one. And now here's why. Okay, because Chris Wilson, who's the brains behind ShowPro Beard Co. I just like to say it. Have you guys ever just ShowPro Beard Co.? Just put it out there, ShowPro Beard Co. Chris Wilson is a live touring professional. Okay, he's an audio engineer. He's out there. He's got a YouTube channel called The Audio Wizard. You got to check that out. Does a lot of cool stuff on there. Anyway, he and his wife, they've formulated their very own unique formula of Beard Balm. It not only performs well in terms of health and nourishment, it also provides the control, shine, and pleasant aroma that any bearded professional would appreciate. I'm telling you, man, when you wake up, it's 7 a.m. and your bus pulls into a Hilton hotel somewhere, and you get out of the bus and your beard's going one way and you're headed the other way. You slap some of this stuff on there. It's going to tame it. They're non-waxy. They're all natural. There's no junk in these things. It's delicious stuff. You put it on and you smell it all day. Your beard is soft. It's smooth. It's nourished. They have a lot of different scents you can choose from, like Home Sweet Home, Morning Wood, Through the Woods, Chain Motor Oil. And if you don't want to smell anything, they've got Original Unscented. It's good stuff. I've used it. I still put it on even though I just have some gray stubble these days. I haven't grown the beard out yet because it's not fully winter. But man, I'm going to tell you something. It's good stuff. If you use the code ROADIE when you check out, you get 20% off your entire order. They've got sample packs. You can buy them individually. 20% off your entire order when you use the code ROADIE at showprobeardco.com. Oh, God, have I made it clear that it's good stuff? You got to try it, man. You got to try it. All right, listen, enough with the funny business. Let's get to the episode because Eric and I had a good time. He's been with Godsmack, HunterHayes, Naji, Testament, Death Angel, Avenged Sevenfold. Dude's been around. He was nominated in 2010 for a Parnelli Award as Systems Engineer of the Year. I didn't even ask him about that. We didn't even get to it. We had so much other stuff to get to. He's been in a ton of articles, ton of magazines, a lot of features. Look the dude up. Erik Rogers, good dude. He's been at this a while, and also doing the dad life stuff. He's got a kid. And we talk about that. We just broke it down, man. We had a good time. So I'm going to get to it. I love you guys. Give me a shout anytime. info@roadiefreeradio.com. I don't have much else to tell you. So here we go. Kick back, relax, enjoy. Come see me at AES in a couple weeks. Do it. But before that, we got Black Bear Americana Music Festival. Here we go with Mr. Erik Rogers. Hit it.
Call yourself a roadie. Call yourself a roadie. Call yourself a roadie.
What's happening, man? Where are you, in Nashville, Sarasota, or Ohio?
I live in Sarasota, Florida.
Okay.
I spent a long time working for a country artist that required me to be Nashville based. So
would that be Gavin DeGraw?
No, that would be Dustin Lynch, actually.
Oh, Dustin Lynch.
When I worked for Gavin, I lived down here.
Oh,
His guitar player lives in Tampa, I believe, or St. Pete or something like that. I know that we flew out together all the time. So.
Hang on, I gotta unplug the phone, man. Gotta unplug the phone.
Oh shit! I should probably turn my ringer off too.
Turning off ringers, unplugging phones, emails off. All right, we're good to go. So, dude, you've been. Thank you for reaching out. By the way, I appreciate it. Appreciate your support for the show.
Absolutely. I was paying. You've got a list of a handful of my friends that you've spoken to, and I had a good time. You're reliving some of their finer moments.
Okay. I hope they would agree that they're their finer moments.
Yes.
Well, you're a brave soul for coming on here to Roadie Free Radio and bearing your soul. So, dude, you've been globetrotting with Godsmack this year.
Quite.
We got 3 European tours. Is it 3 or 2? 2 European tours and 2 domestic tours.
Yeah, we did Europe, USA, then Europe again, then USA, Canada, then another little bit of USA. If you like, some festivals, and I fly out tomorrow, and we start the rest of the year for USA.
Wow, where are you going to be doing these shows?
This is if you look at the routing, it's literally like up the middle. We fly out, we do rehearsals in Green Bay, and then there's like a quick jog down the East Coast to, the some of the markets we didn't hit before. 3 shows in Florida, and then the last Florida show is Pensacola, and it's like if you just follow that line straight up and across, that's where we're going.
Nice.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's places that I've looked at the routing, and like I haven't been to these places in a while. So I mean, it's not like I have time to go out and enjoy anything, but it's it's nice to send a quick text home and go, hey guys, I'm here.
How long since your last break, or since you were out with them last, or how long have you been home is what I'm trying to get at.
I have been home for about 3 weeks.
How's it feel, man? You ready to go?
Yes and no. I'm always ready to go out and work. I love what I do, but I also have an 11-year-old who will be 12 the day after we get back from this run.
Nice timing.
I've been 100% full-time dad mode since I got home, and like I get up earlier at home than I do on tour. And
of course, you gotta
get up.
You got to get breakfast in. You got to do night, right?
Well, and it's different. I don't know, when you and I were kids, you wake up, you feed yourself, you get the fuck out the door, and dad already gone for work or whatever. And now it's like the bus doesn't come to my neighborhood. I have to go take her to like a common bus stop. It's at the shopping center where the grocery store is, and it goes all the other. I fit in great with all the moms in yoga pants who are fixing to go to the gym or whatever. And there's they're very obviously a roadie standing around. It's pretty funny,
right? Exactly. Yeah, man. I can relate. I'm not a stay-at-home dad, but I'm a work-from-home dad, and so I do pickup every day at 2:00 with my son. He just turned 4. Or sometimes I have to do drop-off. My wife, she's got the steady gig, so she's gone in the morning. She goes on work trips, and it's me and the moms. Or at the playground, just me and the moms hanging out.
Oh, I did. I sent a friend a text last night. I was at soccer practice, and like as soon as I show up and sit on the bleachers, immediately all the moms move to the other side of the bleachers. I'm like, I'm really not that fucking scary.
Well, you're wearing black. You've got a hell of a beard, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
That is
Thank
fantastic. Now, Eric, how do you tame that beard when you're out on the road?
I don't.
You don't?
No,
maybe you should try my friend's product, Show Pro Beard Co., sponsor of this show.
Absolutely, I will. I know our stage manager on Godsmack, he has something with Shiner Gold, but they only do pomade and stuff like that. They don't have any beard products, but I mean,
you should check this out, man. Show Pro Beard Co.
Show Pro Beard Co.
Show Pro Beard Co. Started by a gentleman who is also a live touring professional.
Oh, brilliant. Okay.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's good stuff.
So I'm going to reach out and meet him anyway.
You got to do it, man.
I will. Absolutely.
All right. So this is your first year with Godsmack, yeah?
It's my first year as front of house with Godsmack. I was out as systems engineer last year, and then actually I took over the front of house spot, filling in for my friend who was the engineer, and he actually has an illness that he's dealing with. So I kind of stepped up to take care of it.
Was there a process of, hey, Eric, we're going to look at a couple of other people, just make sure we're crossing our eyes and all that kind of stuff? Or was it like, you're the guy, let's do this?
From what I understand, it was, you're the guy, let's do this. And I was a close relationship with Scott. I knew the show. I was already out on the tour. I already had good rapport with the crew. So it really made good sense. It was kind of a seamless transition so he could take care of what he needs to take care of. And the band wouldn't suffer at all. So
now, obviously, you were doing front of house duties before for other bands going back to 2009. But in a situation like this, where you're the systems tech, obviously you know everything, you know the show, all of that. Is there, are there the moments of butterflies or that anxious moment where you're like, okay, now I'm the dude?
Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Well, it's funny. I know the show inside and out. It's not much has changed. There's some interesting things that change, and all of a sudden, there isn't a Godsmack song that I haven't heard now. But say when we get out there, I might not have gone into the deep cuts and done all of my homework, and all of a sudden he's like, "We're gonna pull this song out." I'm like, "Oh shit." And the next thing you know, I'm going into iTunes and buying something and learning real quick and freaking out. But
sure.
But the truth is every day you could say the show is roughly the same every day. It has the same flow, it has the same feel, and there's that kind of bravado you have all day. Like, oh, we're 150 shows in, we feel great, this is awesome. It's like clockwork, and then my stage manager calls over radio, go for intro, and all of a sudden, like, your asshole fucking puckers up and you're like, here we go.
Yeah, this is it. Hope it works.
Yep. And what's really funny is as those feelings, the weirdest thing is those feelings come more when you've had all day to like a long lazy day, like everything worked. The sound check was awesome and everything was just lazy, great day. All of a sudden, like, what's it going to be? Versus when you're literally doing a throw and go at some European festival in front of 50,000 people, you don't really have time to freak out. You freak out afterwards when you're like, wow, did that just go smooth? Fuck. It's pretty cool.
Of course, man. Break down the setup for me. You got a lot going on. It sounds like dueling drum kits, you said.
Yes. Well, it's a lot, but it's not. It's like to the audience, it's a lot. But it's just a standard rock and roll band. We have a drum kit, 2 guitar players, and a singer. And the singer, a guitar player, bass player, and a singer who also plays guitar. So visually at the stage, it's not that busy. It's just, amps here, amps there, drums in the middle, the microphone, soundstage. It's a rock show. But then there's the drum solo portion of the show where all of a sudden automated drum kits are rolling and spinning, and there's a hidden drum kit where our singer gets up and plays not only drums, but also there's a percussion rig in front of that. Wow. And there's a good 12 minutes of drum solo, which is pretty cool, but it's pretty input intensive with everything else that's going on that stage and ambient microphones and all the fun stuff that goes in with having 2 drum kits and basically in front of a wall of guitar amps.
Right. So how do you deal with some of that ambient noise stuff? It's like different rooms every night. You know, there's a lot going on. So how do you give me some ideas, some tips? How you
interesting is there was a lot of trial by fire because Godsmack, especially over here, is an arena stadium rock and roll band. And in Europe, we were doing everything from arenas to theaters. And so when you're doing a theater, it's kind of closed. Most theaters are not. They were built for ambient or noise or natural noise versus turning something in or plugging something in, turning it up to 11 and pointing it at the audience.
Right.
So in Europe, it was a bit of a challenge in some places to balance out what's coming off of the stage versus what's coming out of the PA versus what I'm allowed to do because they have restrictions over there anyway. And we all kind of work together. But one of the crucial things about the drums is all of the drums are gated and they have a trigger on the drum that actually keys the gate. So, I mean, I guess you could theoretically crack the gate of something else by not hitting that drum, but you'd have to hit it really hard.
Right.
So, and everything else, it's really low gain. Like I don't add a lot of gain to the inputs. I let the drums do what they do, and I let the amplifiers do what they do, and I let the PA do what it does.
Any special miking stuff that you do? Any particular mics that you like to use? Let's say on drums. What are you using on drums?
It's the same mics they've had for quite a while. It's nothing. There's no one mic. All the cymbal mics are Neumann. All of the tom mics are Sennheiser 906s. Inside the kick, it's Shure Beta 91 and Audix D6, and snares are SM57s. I think the only weirdness in there is on the snare top. I have the windscreen on the 57.
Interesting. What's that for?
It just softened it a little bit. Like there's especially our drummer. He's a very dynamic drummer, but like his loud is super loud, and it didn't change the tonality of it a little bit, but it just kind of softened a little bit. So I still have a good crack from the snare, but it doesn't distort as much. It honestly, it's probably snake oil, but I did it once.
Makes you feel good.
I did it once and it was cool.
Yeah,
and I stuck with it.
And what about guitar cabs and stuff? And bass? What are you doing there?
Guitar cabs. Bass. There isn't a cab right now. Bass is all direct. There's 3 direct channels of the bass, and there's basically it's an amp model that he has, and then a straight DI, and then a distortion channel. And both of the guitars are a Shure SM57 with a Royer R10 ribbon, and then both guitars also have a JDX radial DI that's primarily used as backup, but sometimes I throw it in there for a little thickness when there's certain parts of the show where if both guys aren't playing guitar, then all of a sudden I take that DI and it becomes the stage right guitar at that point.
Got it. And vocals?
And vocals, there's 4 of them, and it's all the same. It's just a wireless Shure transmitter with a Telefunken M80 capsule. They're all EQ'd the same. It's all EQ'd for the singer. He can go and grab any microphone at any time and sing wherever. It's now the other guys do sing BGVs, but they're singing back up into the same vocal chain that Sully goes through 100% of the time.
Wow.
So it's really cool because what that becomes, that goes into a vocal bus mix. And so instead of having 4 microphones, I really just have 1. I just have vocal.
Right.
Are
those other 3 muted while he's singing on the one? No, everything's open all the time.
Everything's open. Now, Previously, I did the old-fashioned way. I just pull the faders back a little bit.
Okay.
I'm actually trying out some new pieces of gear. A Neve 5045, which is a really cool expander gate thing that I used on Dustin Lynch. I've used it on several different artists, and it's a phenomenal piece that gently opens the microphone when I want it to and closes it when I don't want it to. So hopefully I can. This is the goal of every front of house guy, is to see how lazy we can get. I want to do this with one hand.
Right.
Like if I don't have to move my left hand to those three faders, then I can do something else with my left hand. I don't.
Well, anything with your left hand.
Well, it's a family show.
Is it really a family show? What desk are you mixing on?
I'm mixing on the Midas Pro X.
Cool. I like it.
I carried a long time ago. I started with the Midas Digital, the Pro 6 back in 2009, and I loved it then. It was new at the time, and honestly, I'm not really partial to a console. I inherited it. Godsmack was already on it, so it made the most sense just to stay with what they had and what they knew, and what I knew and what their sound was. But I mean, it's to me a console is a tool, and of course I have stuff that I prefer, but quite honestly, I mean, a hammer's a hammer. Yeah. Whatever gets the job done. Whatever gets the job done. Now, and for Godsmack, it is the perfect console. It has that tone that only a Midas desk has. Mm-hmm. If you remember going to shows, say, I don't know, Metallica or Tool or any of those heavy bands in the late 90s, early 2000s, you would see, you would hear on a big analog Midas desk, the thing still sounds like that. Right. That's awesome. In fact, I just saw Tool in Poland this year, and they're still on analog Midas. And I had my back turned for line check, and it's like yep, I know exactly what that sounds like. Just any disasters up until this point? No, honestly. And if so, how have you gotten out of it? No, honestly, we have a fantastic crew, and it's a well-oiled machine. So even when curveballs are thrown, it's whatever. We kind of laugh about it. I think honestly, for me personally, the weirdest thing that happened, and it wasn't even weird, it's just I'd managed to get this far in my career having never done Sturgis. And my number was up this year, and everybody's laughing. They're like, "You've never done Sturgis?" I'm like, "I've never done fucking Sturgis." Like, get ready for it. Evidently, like the bike rally happens every year right around monsoon season, and I kind of laugh about it because I'm like, hey, I live in Florida. You guys don't know what rain is. Yeah. No. The sky opened up, and the heavens fell, and next thing you know, it went from bright sunny day to ankle deep in mud, and they had pulled my cable through this tunnel underneath this racetrack that was filled with God knows what from I don't know how many years. Sure. And one of the Cat 5 lines, fortunately there's a spare. One of them was completely dead. I'm like, fuck. Okay. So we have the spares, and when they pulled it back out, they had wrapped it in this like bread Solo cup and taped, and then put a plastic bag over that and taped it closed. And I can look at what they were thinking, like, oh, we're going to protect his cables this way. Yeah. And I didn't see this until the next day when I opened it up. And what they had done is they dragged it through that thing, and it had just filled with water, and they wrapped it through it in the case and put it away. And it rode in a truck for 6 days, basically steeping in this filth, and every Cat 5 was dead. Like it just, wow. It just had just completely corroded the ends of the cable. And I didn't know that until we were doing this festival. I didn't know that until we loaded in. And I have two things up against me at that point. One, we're doing a festival, so it's not like I have time to re-terminate a bunch of Cat 5. And the other one is I'm colorblind, so me terminating a Cat 5 cable was pretty stupid. So fortunately, the only workaround we could come up with was borrow something from the lighting guys, and they're friendly enough. But that's the closest thing to disaster we've had, is like a muddy Sturgis local stagehand not made cable soup. That was it.
That's crazy, man. Any deal with Hurricane Dorian right now?
No, and I mean, knock wood. I'm happy and bummed at the same time. I've lived here for 7 years, and I've never been home for a hurricane. Irma came over my neighborhood. Just my neighbor off to literally, she's 50 yards to my right here. Her whole back patio collapsed. My back patio, which is almost identical to hers, had this inflatable palm tree beer koozie floaty thing that like I use in the hot tub, and it was sitting. It's inflatable, and it was sitting on the table when I left. And when I came home, like a month and a half later, Irma had come up and down my neighborhood. Trees are down, patios are destroyed, patio furniture's in the pond behind my house, and that little inflatable beer koozie was still perched on the table. Nothing happened. Like my ex-wife's house lost power for like 12 days. She and my daughter had to hole up in her school for a shelter. It was like Irma was a big deal, and I'm sitting there. I was on the other side of the country. I think I was in San Diego when she hit landfall, and I'm like, please go check my house. And everything was fine. So then it sits and like, wow, I've never experienced this. And then I'm sitting here like, this is going to be awesome. It's going to be a little storm. I'll get to feel a little bit of wind. I'll get to feel a little bit of rain. And all of a sudden it's a Category 5 and the Bahamas are gone. And I'm happy that I didn't experience it. And I leave tomorrow, and I won't be back until October 21st. And I look on the radar on my little app on my phone, and there's already a named storm off of Africa coming this way. I'm like, shit.
There's another one coming?
I don't know if it's coming, but it's in the ocean right now.
Wow.
Hang on a sec.
So you just, while you're looking that up, dude, let me ask you, because it's, I'm just always curious. So you just said like, I leave, I come back October 27th or whatever. That's basically November. You're gone. It's basically November. Does that still mess with your head? You've got 15 years of touring experience under your belt. You know the deal. But does that still sort of mess with your head when you're like, I'm going to be gone for Halloween? Well, actually, you're back for Halloween. But I'm basically gone. And when I come back, it's like November. We're done.
It honestly, it doesn't mess with my head. What messes with my head more is knowing that it's the end of October. We are done until 2020. And quite honestly, they've earned it. They worked their ass off this year. We've all worked our asses off this year. The difference is I'm not ready to be done.
Right.
so
baby needs a new pair of shoes.
Right. Or baby needs to pay school tuition.
Right.
But so no, like for me, the real thing that messes with my head is sitting there going, and it's funny. It's like it never gets easy when all of a sudden, I know that 2 months from now, I'm looking for work.
Right.
So all of a sudden, that's the point where you make the phone calls and you're talking to all your buddies and hey, I'm available. That's more of the mind thing than going out. I'm so used to traveling. Fortunately, I have a wonderful daughter I've been doing this her whole life.
Yeah.
And like this morning when I drop her off at the school bus, I'm like, okay, kid, I will be home one day before your birthday. And she's like, okay. Gonna miss me? Like, you're too cool for school? You can't hug your old man in front of other kids? And she's like, pretty much. Like, all right.
How do you guys stay in touch? Do you have like a routine or whatever that you do when you're on the road? Like, babe, we're going to talk every day. This thing, or what do you do?
I send texts every day, and she watches YouTube and swipes up when the text hits the screen. And then 3 or 4 days later, I'll go like, dude, I know you have your phone in your hand like every waking minute you're not at school, so would you mind answering a text? And then I'll get like the one word, yeah. It's so amazing. You go from, and I don't want to, I mean, you said you have a 4-year-old, so right now you are still Superman, and I don't want to ruin that for you, but it goes away.
No, we know it's coming, man. I mean, even, this is his second year of preschool, basically at the same place. So now he's like one of the older kids, and he came home the other day, and I was like, hey, your buddy's there. I knew a couple of his friends moved up to kindergarten, and he's like, yeah, so-and-so, and I don't know any of the other kids in his class. He said some girl stepped on his his puppy. He brings his little puppy to school.
Oh, okay.
Some girl stepped on my puppy. And we're like, who's that? He's like, I don't know her name. Some girl in his class. But the first day of school, I dropped him off, and he was like, he just walked right in, sat down. It was just like, bye, Daddy. It was okay. Not like last year. Last year was like, clinging to the leg and the whole thing.
Oh, tears. Yeah. And then all of a sudden she came home this year after the first week of school. And this is new for me, but there's a boy in class, and he's the new kid. And I cannot remember his name now. Pisses me off. But she comes home and she tells me all about this dude, and like she never talks about boys. Like I figured that she wasn't there yet. This is cool. And then she's like, so he plays guitar. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, and I told him, and I'm not
whoa.
I'm not like a pick collector or anything like that, but I have I have a handful of stuff.
Sure.
And she's like, well, and I told him about all of your cool picks, so could I take some pics to show him? I'm like, yeah, there you go. and then so I go over there, and like there's a Van Halen pick, and there's a couple Metallica picks. Of course, there's some Godsmack picks. I think there's a Gavin DeGraw pick. I just grabbed a handful. Like, here, he can do what you got to do.
Yeah.
And she was got like really big eyed. She was so happy that I would do that for her. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you asked for something, it's nothing, it's whatever.
Right.
And I didn't talk about it because I know that she's a girl. Like, I'm not gonna lean in on her and be like, tell me about this boy.
Yeah.
About 3 days later, I just go over, in my little practice area where my guitars are, and I saw it, and she had brought all the picks back. She literally had just shown them to the dude and brought them back. So now imagine you're a 12-year-old boy and you got this girl who's like, she's trying to.
She knows how to play the game already.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh my God. She just dangled that little carrot.
Either that, or he was like, "Who's Van Halen?" Right? Or he's like, "Who's Godsmack? Who are these bands?"
There is that.
Right? He's like, "Can it be Imagine Dragons? Your dad's cool and all, but who the hell are these bands?"
Yeah. Well, she does a lot of. It's not CrossFit. What is it? Like obstacle course stuff.
Like ninja shit.
Ninja shit. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, the ninja shit of today is not my ninja shit of the early 80s. We had throwing stars and stuff, right?
Yes, and nunchucks, yes.
And fucking nunchucks. Who's got an obstacle course? That's not ninja shit.
No, they're on monkey bars with moving lights.
That is not ninja shit.
But she sends me this text of like she did this ninja course with her mom, and sends me this text, and there's a stage in the background. So at the end of the race, there's this big thing.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, really? What's going on? Like, oh, it's DJ whatever, like some DJ guy. Like, really? That you got all that? Okay, I've done all these festivals. I know. Like, there's always like the big headliner DJ. So then I fire back. I was actually at Download when this happened. So I'm like, here you go. Here's me, and then here's my stage, big selfie. And she's like, oh yeah, what DJ's playing tonight? Like, Tool. I believe it's let's see, like it was DJ Godsmack, then DJ Smashing Pumpkins, then DJ Tool, if I'm not mistaken. Like,
let me consult my my list.
Yeah, just roll my eyes, but that's it. That's what they're.
That's hysterical.
I don't need my 96 inputs anymore. I can just do 4. There
you go. That's it, man. Wow, I know, the ninja thing. Like, what happened just going out in the woods?
Oh,
that's where ninja shit happened, was out in the woods. Well, you guys can't down there. You got pythons and crocodiles and shit. Fuck that, dude.
Oh, she was telling me the other day, like, they're like, okay, you probably did. When I was a kid, there was like the big, like you could stand up in it, sewer pipe.
Oh yeah.
You go run down there. There's graffiti in there. Probably, I mean, may or may not have smoked some pot down there. Just
probably
dumb kid stuff, right?
Yeah.
So then she's like, oh, there's not a tunnel there, but there's this big like sewage ditch that, growing up in Ohio, I totally would have played in.
Yeah.
So now she's like, oh yeah, I was playing here. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you realize that any body of water down here has something bigger than you with teeth in it. Like, get out of there.
Oh my God. Yeah, Florida's kind of a frightening place, if you ask me.
Like, it either slithers or bites. One of the two. Like, get away from it.
Right. Oh my God. So where'd you grow up, dude?
I grew up in Dayton, Ohio. Actually, just south of Dayton, a small town called Miamisburg, Ohio.
Musical family?
Not at all.
Not at all. What'd your folks do?
When I was growing up, my father, I was born, my father was in the Air Force, and he got out of the Air Force pretty soon to, I guess I don't really know, but I pretty much didn't want to drive or fly me all over the world. And he was an electrical engineer for my entire childhood. And then right about the time I graduated high school, my dad went to the seminary. Yeah.
Oh.
So technically speaking, I'm a pastor's kid.
Okay.
Which fits in great with what I do.
Absolutely.
And my mom's always been a paralegal. So.
All right.
So yeah, it's a non-musical, like really conservative family.
Are you the only child?
No, I have a younger, better looking, more successful brother.
and was he musical?
Not at all.
No. So what was it for you, man? What did it? Rebelling?
I guess.
Yeah.
Honestly, I guess there was like this allure of something. Like I got into music and rock and roll probably 5th or 6th grade. And
at that point, your dad's in the military.
No. My dad was just a private citizen. He worked for he was an electrical engineer for some big defense contractor doing stuff that he couldn't tell me that he was doing. And I didn't care.
Yep. So you do that with him now. You're like, I'd love to tell you about what I do now, Dad, but I can't do it. I can't. What this fader does, I can't tell you.
Top secret, dude. Can't talk to you about
shit.
that.
Yeah. Don't touch that button.
But no, I was in Boy Scouts, and we were on our way to a camp out, and I grew up in a really conservative, like Christian, rock and roll is not good for you family.
Sure, devil's music.
So it is, and I was afraid of certain things. Like they would, whenever I would listen to something or I'd hear it on the radio, they gave me all the pamphlets from church about like,
oh my God.
Oh yeah, like I wasn't allowed to listen to Kiss because they believed that whole acronym thing, and it's either that or then the other guys, the pastors, that were like, "Well, listen to their songs; they're all about sex." I'm like, "Yeah, they are. they pretty much are.
Pretty much, yeah."
But in 5th and 6th grade, I had no idea what Lick It Up was all about. I just heard guitars, right? Yeah. And so this kid, he was like the metalhead. He smelled like BO. He didn't want to hang out with him, but he was kind of dirty. He had an earring. He had long hair. I guarantee you, his parents put him in Boy Scouts to try to fix him.
Yeah, right.
And we're sitting in the back of this van on our way to a camping trip, and he gives me a cassette of Master of Puppets.
Oh boy.
And I saw like it had the gravestones on the album cover, and I for real, I was afraid. Like I don't want to listen to this because this is like I don't want to. He's like, just try it, just listen to it, and I was hooked. Like immediately, like what is this? This is amazing. And then like the rabbit hole opened up. It was for me it wasn't about listening to stuff that would piss off my parents or stuff that was rebellious. Magically things start speaking to you. That's the cool thing. And I try to explain that to my daughter too. Like,
drugs.
Right. Yeah. Like
try pot.
Yeah. I didn't. Yeah. Well, like I was a huge Guns N' Roses fan growing up, and I didn't mean listening to some of their songs. I didn't go out and I didn't start kicking ass every time I listened to Get in the Ring or something like that. I liked it. It was, he was angry and he had something to say, and I was angry and I didn't know why. And all of a sudden Axl was my guy. The same thing, like Metallica, the same thing, or AC/DC. Like, why is this so good? All of a sudden, you don't really realize that those 3 chords over however many records that they've done, like they figured it out. And some songs were probably maybe or deeper and more meaningful than others, and some of them are just silly. Like Big Balls. It's just silly stuff. But it all kind of me and there's a friend, there's a camaraderie within the whole rock and roll community. Like that sounds like the dumbest thing ever, rock and roll community, but you know what I'm talking about, like kids.
Yeah,
like,
it is a rock and roll community, man.
Yeah, like like there's the rock and roll kids, there's the metalheads sit together, the boy band girls are all together over there. Like you, all of a sudden you find your group, you find your tribe.
Yes,
and you start passing music back and forth, and then you start discovering stuff. And that for me, that was how it happened. It was never because of a musical family. It was because some kid in Boy Scouts challenged me to listen to music that I was afraid of.
And did you want to play guitar at that point? Was it like you wanted to be a musician, or was it I just love this? This is my
identity. At that point, now. I just love this. This is a little embarrassing, but it was very soon after that, I discovered this band called Guns N' Roses, and they're going places. You should check them out.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
I wanted to be Slash. I wanted nothing more than to be Slash. I had this cheap, shitty, like $50 acoustic guitar. I used to pose in front of my mirror, like trying to be Slash. I practiced his poses, everything. You know what I didn't do is learn how to play it.
Ah, right.
Yeah, that was the problem.
I forgot that part.
I can hold it like him, and
what was
like
it
that.
about Slash?
Well, looking back on it now, his tone, his guitar, his playing was my favorite. It's still my favorite style of music. That kind of grungy, dirty, bluesy rock and roll sound. Yeah. As much metal as I listened to, that was it. I kept coming back to that sound.
Yeah.
And somebody would turn me on to another record or something else. I would go listen to anything. The heavier, the better. But there was always in my car, in my Walkman, in my book bag or whatever, there was always a GNR tape.
Yep.
And I can't, there's no rhyme or reason. They were just my favorite.
That's awesome. Favorite track? What's the song? What's the one song?
Oh, that would probably be Mr. Brownstone.
That's a good one.
Yeah. It was like a punky rock and roll song. I loved it.
Yeah.
And now what's funny is like I listen to this stuff, and I listen to stuff in the car. Apple Music or Amazon or whatever subscription. I think I have them all.
Yeah.
Just I hand the phone to the kiddo when we're driving in the car. I'm like, pick something that we haven't listened to before. Just scroll, and I don't care what it is. Like I know that growing up, I had the whole lot of musical or media censorship. We'll say like, oh, they say bad words or they have negative content or they're misogynistic or whatever. And instead of just saying stay away from it, because honestly, the more they told me to stay away from it, the more I was like, well, what the fuck is this?
Right.
I'll have her listen to it. I'm like, all right, what's this thing saying to you? And she's like, I don't know. I'm like, well, this is what it's saying. Do you still want to listen to this? No. Like, okay.
It's called Lick It Up.
Right.
What's that saying?
But there's other stuff. It's not really genre specific, but I mean, honestly, especially because she is a girl.
Yeah.
Like, I would love for her to find value in herself. And then when she hears things that devalues her, she'll go, I don't want to listen to this crap.
Yep.
You know, and regardless of artist, genre, whatever, like I would like her to find something that speaks to her like I did. Mm-hmm. Well, and you know, maybe she will, maybe she won't. Maybe she'll listen. Maybe some kid in the bus will turn her on to the next big thing, and it'll be whatever. It'll be cool.
Yeah. So let's say that happens. Let's say she's fully turned on by the music thing, and she hits like 20 years old, and she's like, Dad, I think I want to do what you do. I want to go on the road with a band. I want to be a roadie or a tech, if you prefer. I don't know what side of the tracks you're on.
You know what's funny is
what would you say, man?
I use the word roadie and I hate roadies. It's pretty funny.
You hate roadies, but you like techs, or you just hate the vision of a roadie?
I hate the connotation that stereotypes exist for a reason.
Yep.
So when somebody says you're all a bunch of roadies, because I'll say like, man, you guys are acting like a bunch of fucking roadies right now. And it's true. Like, roadies are the guys that are salty that they're only at a 3-star hotel.
Okay.
Like that entitled roadie shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, what would I say to my daughter if she wanted to do this? I would. Okay.
Do you have women on your crew?
Yes, actually we do. Not many, but there's honestly I haven't done a tour in recent years that there hasn't been a few ladies on tour. I know, especially when I was in the country world, there's lighting, audio, and video. Cool. Not to mention the office staff. There's tons out here. I think we have 3 ladies on tour with us right now. I think we've had 5 last year. I think. It's not like we slimmed them down or anything like that.
Right.
Went on to do other things. It's like, oh no, the check quotient's too high here. We got to stop this.
Right.
But no, I would if she can do whatever she wants, and I would encourage her to make better choices in life. I mean, I love what I do, but if she wants to have a family, this is probably not the best choice for a young lady who wants to have babies.
How do you reconcile that with this is what daddy does?
I'll let you know when I reconcile it. Like I said, I have the most ideal set of circumstances in that regard. Like if she had any other personality type, I couldn't do this. Like, because honestly, the minute she says, "Dad, I want you to come home," okay. Like if she said that I can't do this, I need you home, or if let's say she was struggling with something and needed me here, I'd figure it out. I would come home
and try to find like a local gig, house gig.
I have no. I don't think there are any house gigs. There's like a theater down here or something like that, but no, I'd have to figure something out. I'd probably go into consulting, or I'm kind of trying to segue into teaching a little bit anyway. Like I'm not going to stop touring, but I would love to be able to pass this knowledge on. I didn't go to school for this. I benefited from the knowledge of others, and I would love to pass that on. Maybe pick up a few karma points in the process. Nice, man.
And who were some of those mentors?
Early on was a gentleman called Paul McDermott. He was like the first real local, large scale local sound company that hired me in Dayton, Ohio. When I say sound company, it was him and this one other dude working there. And I was just bumming around with local bands, and I went to somehow I convinced him that he wanted to hire me, even though I didn't know shit. And it was cool. I got paid to learn, basically.
So just to jump back real quick, so you get hit by the Guns N' Roses bug. You're wearing tight leather pants and a top hat like Slash, cruising around Ohio.
No.
And, oh, you didn't say that part?
I didn't have the hat. Mom wouldn't let me do the tight leather pants. I was closeted. I was totally closeted rock and roll fan. Like, quite honest, this was also the '90s, so I looked more like a Nirvana kid than anything else. Like I wore the same flannel shirt like 18 days in a row and the same jeans for a month. But deep down inside, I wanted those leather pants.
So did you ultimately get into the Nirvana thing and all those guys? Or no, you were a little bit more. You held on to the 80s a little bit more.
I listened to I didn't like the glam scene. I liked the more rock and rolly stuff like GNR, but keep in mind, this is like about the time the 90s roll around, you're 16, you have a car and you have girls.
Right.
So I'll be into whatever you want to let me into, as long as you let me, stay next to me, keep looking pretty. Maybe let me touch you.
Right.
I mean, do you really think that I liked, I don't know, Alanis and Jewel? No. Sure as shit had him in my CD player.
Yes, you did. On heavy rotation.
Absolutely.
Oh my God. So what was so you're doing that shit, and then what was the transition to like, oh, I can kind of work behind the scenes and I'll go work for these guys?
The truth is, like I said, I never really I never really became a musician. I never really learned how to play the guitar. I have guitars. I make noise on them.
Yeah.
But I never really learned how to play. I never really learned how to be in a band or anything like that. But I was bumming around the local music scene in Ohio, and somehow a girl I was dating introduced me to the drummer of a local band. And next thing you know, I'm 19 years old and I'm driving the box truck and pushing cases for $50 and all the beer I could drink. And the guitar player for that band is he's actually one of my best friends now. He's notoriously cheap. So they didn't want to pay the local sound company anymore. They're like, oh, fucking Erik can mix it. And I'm like, Erik can what? Oh. And that was it. It was like I had this little 6-channel PV powered head mixer, and I'm figuring out what all these knobs do to, where to put and basically looking at like the local sound company, like, okay, what were those guys doing? And I would go see other local bar bands that had a full PA and had a full mixing console, and I would just kind of absorb that information and then apply it to my little 6-channel mixer that I had. And I still had no idea that this was like at the time, I didn't even realize that touring artists had a crew.
Right.
Like I thought they had like guitar, like there's some guy that tunes the guitars and some guy that drives the bus and probably some guy that counts the money. And I thought everybody else was local. I really did. So I went to go work for the local sound company because I thought, oh man, I'm going to get to go do all these shows at instead of paying to go to the arena to see all these shows, I'm going to be the fucking guy.
Right. How'd that work out?
It took me 20 years to become the guy, but now I'm the guy. But yeah, I went there and I didn't know any of this. So I was fumbling around in college. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had a pretty healthy grasp of, say, science and physics. I knew how music worked, but I'm still no good at playing it. And somehow I landed with Paul, where I had a job. And fortunately, since my dad being an electrical engineer and in the Air Force, we did all kinds of nerd projects like amateur radio, a lot of soldering, stuff like that. So I have a marketable skill at this point. I can go work for this guy and I can fix cables. I can fix circuit boards and load trucks. And the rest of the time, and that's literally a part-time job. I should have been doing that for maybe 15 hours a week. Right. But he literally paid me, God, this is like late 90s, early 2000s. So I was getting like $12, $15 an hour to set up gear in a shop and learn. And it was like this awesome. Like take an old built in the 1800s warehouse. We were in the basement of this warehouse, and it's all concrete and brick, and it's low ceilings. And he would set up a wedge and a microphone and a 31 band EQ, and like, here, get it loud without feeding back, and then walk away. And then he'd go do whatever he was doing in his office.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I had the entire shop at my disposal. I was like, I'm gonna plug this microphone into a compressor today because I'm gonna learn what that does.
That's very cool, man.
Yeah, like these. I learned all. I learned all the pieces of gear. This is all analog stuff.
Right.
I would learn it inside and out. I knew it. Every preset on, say, the whatever reverb unit. I knew what every one of them did. I knew all their features. I had every microphone. I started doing stupid, crazy nerd projects with an old Clark Technique spectrum analyzer, where I would take a speaker and I would plug a microphone into that spectrum analyzer. I would play pink noise to that speaker, and then I would twist the microphone around so I could actually see the polar pattern decay. So I could okay, so this is what a cardioid mic is, because I knew what the little, the paper that comes with the mic saying, oh, this is the rejection point. Then I would take a SM58 and be like, kind of is there, isn't it? Or then you get like maybe some other cheaper microphones that like they've copied and pasted whatever the major manufacturer did, and then I would put this cheap microphone and I would do the same thing. I'm like, well, that's a load of bullshit, stuff like that. And honestly, it wasn't until years and years later, where I've moved on and he's moved on, that I realized that this dude took me under his wing and paid me to learn this craft. Where
that's awesome. Now
we have people who pay a lot of money to go to a university to do the same thing, and quite literally, all I had to do was solder shit and sweep the floor. It was pretty cool.
Well, and you had to show up. You had to be responsible.
Absolutely.
You had to do your job, right? I mean, there's some of those things that I'm not knocking going to school for stuff, but there's some of those things that get a little lost. I mean, obviously you're paying your own money, and that's, you're going to feel that and that kind of thing. But when you go to a job, it's like being an assistant editor or an assistant, film person or a camera assistant or what, any of those things where there's that, what's that, tutelage? Is that what I'm looking for? The mentor-menteeship, right? You get a certain thing out of that, and that's important.
I think it's invaluable. I think when I was talking with somebody just yesterday about teaching and how do you go about doing this, and I had an opportunity a few years ago when I was mixing Dustin Lynch, the audio vendor from Claire Global in Nashville, came out to a show, and we were somewhere close to Nashville. I think we're in Nashville, maybe, probably. He came out and he brought a handful of people from Blackbird Academy that were in their live production department or a program or whatever. And it was like, for me, it was cool because I got to meet John McBride. But for them, they were coming out to the middle of the day at a big arena show, and they got to see firsthand, like, this is how they hang the PA, this is how they tune the PA. They got to see 3 different bands sound check. Then he asked my friend Roger Gibbons from Claire. He's like, do you mind if they hang out with you during your show? I'm like, absolutely. And only one of them actually had the guts to come up and talk to me during the show. What's funny is I am so approachable. Like, during the day, I'm really quiet and kind of keep to myself. Like, as soon as the house lights go down, I pour myself a giant red Solo cup full of wine, and I'm dancing while I'm mixing, and I'm so approachable. Just come ask me anything. I don't care. And everybody else was kind of staying back and really reserved. And this one kid came up, and I honestly, I really wish I remembered his name, and I don't. But it was country. More importantly,
did he ask for your name and your info?
Yes, he did, as a matter of fact, and I gave it to him.
There you go.
But in country music, the artist is always like the artist starts the show upstage somewhere, and 30 seconds after the first beat of the song, he's out in the audience in front of the PA, and it's just how it is. And to me, it was second nature. You don't even think about it anymore. It's not a problem. But I am being a young kid. He's probably 19, 20 years old. He had the legit. It's like, how do you get the vocal that loud when he's in front of the speakers? Like, well, let me show you. And absolutely, I'll share all this knowledge with you, and I hope he learned something. And if he didn't learn anything, I hope he's out there learning it now.
Yeah.
It was really cool. And but I think he had something that the other ones didn't. And I think he learned something that in the lesson that he learned, he may or may not have learned about, gain structure. But the lesson that he learned that I didn't learn at that age was that if you want something, ask for it. Like, and whether it's knowledge or anything like that, don't sit down and assume that somebody's just going to just bestow all this knowledge on you or give you a leg up or give you an opportunity. Like, the opportunity is there. You just have to go take it. And that one dude did it. He went and took it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think it's, I get a lot of folks that on the show that didn't go to school. I get a good mix. But the folks that didn't go to school complain about the folks that do go to school and come out and they feel like they know already what to do. They sort of have an attitude because they went and they paid for school, right? And they come out. We freeze up.
Yeah, it froze up.
Yeah. Did you hear what I said?
I got the gist of it. If you want to say it again, because I don't know if you have to record this and edit it.
I might go back and edit it. We'll see.
Fair enough.
We'll see where we're at, man. No, you know that people come out and they come out of school and like, I just went to school for this. I know what I'm doing. And to a degree, you kind of do, but to a degree, you don't. And I think part of it is having gone through. The world has shifted because of YouTube and schools and things like that. I mean, again, when I was coming up as an editor, you were an assistant editor, and you did assistant editor jobs, and you got the coffee, and you got the tea, and you kept the room clean, and you did the back end systemsy type shit.
Right.
And if you were lucky, and most of the time you got to sit behind the editor and watch them do their thing and ask questions as to why they chose to cut there and that kind of stuff, right? As opposed to now, people grew up with their phone in their hand, and they've got Final Cut Pro on their computer or Final, whatever the hell it is, and they got YouTube. And they go to school, to some new media school, and they think that's now they're editing.
Well, yeah, but there's a couple. I have a handful of thoughts on that. Like, first thing is and it shows whether they're making a film, a video, or music. You can tell I learned how to do this on YouTube. Like, yeah, it fucking sounds like it too.
Right.
Like, there's a reason that there's. Like some of these legendary studio engineers or these legendary editors or directors are there, and it's not because of film school. It's not because of where whatever academy they went to learn how to make records. It's so much experience and before they had their first major success, there's probably I want to hear the failure. Like, I want to see the movie that Tarantino doesn't want anybody to see.
Right.
I want to see.
Oh yeah.
But I think the old man answer to that is you come out of school with a license to learn. But that's an old man answer. That's kind of cliche. I know a handful of guys that went to either Full Sail or Recording Workshop or any of the you pick it. It's a real university program now.
Yeah.
And they've gone on to great success, and they're very, very talented at what they do. I also know people that came out and they're working at Starbucks.
Yeah.
So I think that you get out of anything what you put into it, and if you just went to school because that was like, I think I want to do this, and you come out with that kind of blasé attitude toward the whole thing, that's what it's going to be. The people that are successful are passionate about what they want to do, and they're not afraid to fuck it up. Right.
I guess what I'm saying too is there's that attitude. There can be that attitude with the wrong type of person that's like, I'm entitled. I just went through this. Like, I can do this. I can do what you do, Eric.
Right.
Regardless of the fact you've been here for 15 years, I just fucking learned how to do it in this classroom. But what I think gets missed, again, not only is that mentorship, but also, but there's the 8 hours, right, before showtime that you don't have under your belt. When
absolutely
all the troubleshooting's happening and all the fatigue and all the stresses and stuff like that you're just not equipped to deal with, that I've been doing. So let me tell you how to deal with that part, because that's going to affect the hour and a half show that we got to do.
Yeah. And she wants to be that cocky, cool, man. Good luck, because I'm that cocky too.
Right.
Except usually I can fucking back it up. So and quite honestly, there's been I've done shows where like, ooh, I completely shit the bed on that one, and got your hat in your hand, head hanging low, going back to the bus, like, don't anybody talk to me.
Yeah, but they're not all going to be perfect, right? I mean, that's a day at work.
That is the beauty of what we do, is and honestly, it's why I never even thought about going into the studio or doing anything like that. Is I don't. For me, the magic in what I do starts and ends with the show. Like, I got one chance that day. Then I get another chance tomorrow. it's pretty awesome. And then I have no idea what circumstances are going to happen. I don't know. I don't know if my singer is, I did his favorite baseball team lose today and he's like super bummed out, and that's going to affect it. Or on the other side of that, did he just get the best news of his life and he's going to put all of it out there? Am I going to have an equipment failure? Is the weather going to get so ridiculously hot and miserable that no matter how perfect the show is, everybody around you is awful? It's like it's these awesome what if circumstances that you don't know that make this show amazing. Yeah. Versus say going into the studio, like, yeah, that's not right. So we're going to work on that a billion times, and then I'm going to take it home and I'm going to pour over to my home studio, and then I'm going to make some edits, and I'm going to take it back, and like then we're going to email it back and forth 100 times until it's absolutely perfect. We have to get it perfect the first time, and if we don't, then that's just part of making music. It's pretty cool.
And then the flip side of it, with all those things you just mentioned about a live show, then it's done. Right?
And it's done.
And unless you record it and you put out a live album, but even if let's just, Frampton Comes Alive. I'm just picking one out, right? Phenomenal.
Right. Absolutely.
But maybe it wasn't phenomenal for the 30,000 people that were there because it was super hot. There's all those other things around it. Maybe the music and the recording was great and the performance was great, but there's all those other things around it. Because how many live albums were put out, let's say, where, they're cutting from different shows and everything like that. Maybe the rest of the show sucked, but that one song was a great performance for the band.
Well, and I've noticed that too. There's like those moments, and I learned a number of years ago was a very important lesson. Like I was mixing a band called Apocalyptica, and I love those guys, and it's metal, but it's cellos. So it's like
wow,
an acoustic cello on through a guitar amplifier with drums and you name it. It's just this powerful music. And we were again in Nashville. It all starts and ends in Nashville.
Yeah.
I couldn't, like, for whatever reason, I was having this horrible feedback issue with one of the three cellos on stage. And an engineer that I really respect was visiting that show. And I was pulling my hair. I was beating myself like, this is fucking awful. This is terrible. And he's like, no one notices but you. He's like, that's just a moment. This is like this awesome musical moment. And it made it, this show is unique. Like, the people tomorrow night are not going to get the same experience. You're going to fix whatever's wrong. Like, just enjoy the moment. It was one of the greatest pieces of advice I could have.
Were you able to get yourself out of the downward spiral?
Yeah, I was. Yeah. And I just rolled with it. But then I think back to, there's other shows, and I can't tell you how many times, like however many artists I've gone, I go into the dressing room after the show just to give a quick high five, like, hey, great show, guys. And sometimes like, yeah, it really was. And then sometimes like, what fucking show were you at? And the truth is, I have no idea what they're thinking. I don't know what it could have just been that, the front row was just incredibly boring that night. Could have been anything. Yeah, I don't know. But the truth is like, we pulled it off, and we did have a great show. But it's all perception based of those four guys playing it, me, the monitor guy, the lighting guy, the backline guys. Like, there's 25 people that had a different experience that night, and we're all the ones making it.
Right. That's awesome.
So as long as the 20,000 people that trust us to make it are happy, I'm good.
Right. That's really all that counts. You also have done some time doing monitors.
As little as possible, but yes.
Okay. Well, that answers the question. Did you like doing monitors or not?
Yes and no. Monitors is a psychological thing. And the best monitor guys are inside the brain of the artist. And honestly, like, you've interviewed him. Bruce Dans is one of the best monitor guys I know. Not only is he a phenomenal engineer, but he has this rapport with the band, like, instantly. And maybe it's because he is a musician, or maybe it's just his personality type. I'm not quite sure, but all the really good monitor guys have that way of connecting with their artist. And honestly, like I have not found that magic elixir yet. I haven't been able to do it. The only one, I mixed monitors for Ed Kowalczyk from Live. Mm-hmm. And I never had a bad show with Ed. It was a band that I love anyway, so it was like I got to mix songs that I like. All of their records could be called Nothing on This Record Sucks version 1, version 2. It's like everything they have is so good. And so I got to listen to records that I really liked in my head only for him. You know, so that was kind of cool. But at the same time, there's always that lack of creativity. I'm actually afforded a little bit of liberty doing what I do out front. Like, they trust me to do it right for the audience.
Yep.
Versus when you're a monitor guy, it's not a matter of trust at that point, but it is. But it's more of a, you need to do what's right for them, and whatever he needs to hear, however he needs to hear it, however weird that is in my brain. It doesn't matter. It's like, I'm not the one singing, he's the one singing, or I'm not the one playing guitar. So if he wants his guitar panned all the way right and high passed at 500, then that's what you fucking do.
Right.
And I always found myself as a monitor guy, I always found it, I don't know, I found it ultimately frustrating, and there's people that are suited for that are better than me at it.
Yeah, well, I think it's also, they're both clients, right? In terms of, you've got the artist is the client at that point if you're monitor mixing.
Absolutely.
And if you're mixing front of house, you've got 20,000, 100,000 clients. And so, but the difference, I think, being at front of house is you're more immersed as part of the experience. Well, and I'm sure there's every monitor engineer I've interviewed and listening is probably like, you're a fucking asshole for saying this, but you're just part of a different experience, like you said, right? I mean, if you're out in the front of the house, you're kind of a fan, but you got hands on the knobs. Yes,
I'm making the show that I want. Right. At that point, I really am. Like, I love rock shows, so I'm making a rock show, and it's an interesting observation, and like every front of house guy would agree with me on this, is when you mix a great show, no one in the audience knows.
Right. Right.
When you fuck up once, everybody in the audience knows exactly where you are.
Right. Exactly.
You miss a cue on something or anything like that. Like all of a sudden, every head knows exactly where to turn. And that's the really cool thing is my job is to be sublime. And I catch myself still like just enjoying the show.
Yep.
Like, I love that moment where you can take your hands off the desk and just like, wow, I'm not only am I'm at a rock show, which is some place that I've loved since I was a kid, like being immersed in this big, loud, emotional experience, but they're paying me to do this shit. it's like, I win. This is good. Right.
Awesome, dude. Erik Rogers, man. I feel like we're just getting started.
I do too. This was awesome.
This is very cool. I appreciate you doing this, man.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much. This is really cool.
Folks, I will see you next week for episode 148, all the way from Hamburg, Germany. Audio engineer Lisa Affenzeller is our guest. You can follow us during the week at Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify, all as Roadie Free Radio. Check out the website, roadiefreeradio.com, and send me a note because you know I want to hear from you. That's info@roadiefreeradio.com. And my friends, in the meantime, y'all be safe out there. No roadies, no rock and roll.